Alright, let's talk about the Disney Plus MCU one more time, shall we? We've all had just about as much as we can take, right? We're tired. Even if you've been lucky enough to actually like all of these shows, and to the people who actually enjoy She-Hulk, believe me, I am envious, still holding out for that Daredevil cameo, yeah! Surely we can at least agree that there have been too many of these damn things, and they still haven't quite figured out how to make them work. Some of them could have been a movie, or even just a holiday special, rather than a 6 or 9 part series. Well, maybe, just maybe, the MCU also agrees. At least because they've unveiled the next Disney Plus entry, and it's a holiday special. Werewolf by Night is on the horizon, and it's just in time for spooky season, and beyond just being excited to celebrate the Halloween month by watching one of the most underrated Marvel properties come to life on the small screen, I'm excited to see this special presentation because it feels like maybe the MCU is finally learning that they can pump out as many projects as they want, but they don't have to all be miniseries or even 2-hour films, and they can use the landscape of television to tell creative, experimental, insular, director-driven projects, since they don't seem to be interested in doing that on the big screen all that much. And I mean, come on, we all saw that trailer, right? This thing looks awesome. It looks to be an incredible full-tilt ode to classic monster cinema, from the black and white, warbly film grain aesthetic to the theatrical, larger-than-life acting and action that walks the fine line between modern believability and the campier production values and performances of those same classic monster films. Gael Garcia Bernal is an inspired casting choice for Jack Russell, and even from the little glimpses we've gotten so far, it's obvious he's going to really sink his teeth into this role and give us something that is committed and macabre. We're going to talk about all the reasons Werewolf by Night is poised to be so goddamn magnificent, and there are many, but I really think a lot of it comes down to the fact that the MCU is giving us something that shows up, says hey, wraps itself up in just under 60 minutes, rather than gives us multiple installments that add up to a little more than a movie, or yes, a holiday special, would have. And it also just seems like the most creative thing the MCU has done since, oh god, I don't know, forever ago? So now that we've had our time to let the trailer wash over us, join me as we look at everything that has me excited for Werewolf by Night, what it might mean for the larger MCU, and why the birth of the werewolf might well turn out to be the best thing Marvel has ever put on Disney Plus. And in addition to the werewolf, new legends will be born in Bloodline, Heroes of Lithas. Bloodline, Heroes of Lithas is a hero collector fantasy RPG in stunning 3D, where you can not only collect champions, but also build kingdoms and find companions to create and raise legendary heirs of your houses. The higher your companion's intimacy, the more powerful your offspring, and you can customize your champions by combining the forces of various bloodlines such as orcs, lycans, demons, and dragonborn. The end result is a unique combination of any 5 powerful abilities out of the selection of dozens tailored by you and your playing style. Whether you're playing on Android or iOS, Bloodline is free to play, and the controls are easy to use too. And there's no better way to prepare to watch Jack Russell transform into Werewolf by Night than to try out Bloodline's Lycans, the werewolf clan of assassins. There are also the clan of Karg, who can transform into dragons, and the mighty power of the Fulgur, who have the best area of effect skills. So what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to try out Bloodline, Heroes of Lithas for free. And get an exclusive starter pack including 20 intimacy packs, 100,000 gold, 100 diamonds, and half Karg, half Fulgur heir. That's a $20 value given to you absolutely free when you download Bloodline Heroes of Lithas using my link in the description below or the QR code you see on screen. And thank you so much to Bloodline for sponsoring this video.
You wanna see this, darling?
Honestly, you know what feels so fresh about this direction for the MCU? The whole concept of the Marvel special presentations emulating the one-shots from the comics. It's genius. It's so simple. They should have been doing this years ago. The idea that we can have isolated, insular stories with unique characters and allow the filmmakers to have complete off-the-wall creative control is a really welcome change in dynamic. I feel like this type of storytelling really proved its worth on a larger scale with Moon Knight, which operated entirely independent of any other MCU project. Since things worked out with that 6-parter, why not try it with a single hour-long bite, right? This allows the MCU to keep their interconnected universe too. You're not losing anything by letting it breathe. You can still employ these one-shot characters when you need to. I'm not naive, I know we haven't seen the last of Moon Knight, and I know eventually Oscar Isaac is gonna show up in another project, and the same can surely be said for Jack Russell, but also dedicate one-offs to them that don't necessarily need to worry about connecting to the larger universe. And this freedom doesn't just mean, oh well, this will be an MCU project with no cameos. It allows projects to break free on a filmmaking level too. You don't have to necessarily abide by the visual palette of the larger MCU, which has become so goddamn boring and concrete looking overall. I mean, goddamn. Look what Civil War did to us. Gosh. Ugh. The black and white is one aspect of this, but that in of itself doesn't separate Werewolf by Night from the rest of the universe. Hell, it's not even the first MCU project this year to go monochrome. That being said, it's definitely the first to eschew a perfectly crisp aesthetic for something that deliberately has flaws ingrained to it in order to emulate the silver screen, and specifically the time period of classic monster movies. Even the way shots are framed in the trailer, like the way Russell transforms into the werewolf off screen and we see it play out in silhouette across Laura Donnelly's face, the way the violence plays out, not quite to the level that, say, Logan did, but probably on the most graphic level for a Marvel project since that movie, I guess, or since Moon Knight or something like that, and using the filter of black and white to emphasize and get away with the gore, the blood, the violence, the brutality of an unchained monster terrorizing an isolated area over the course of one night, I'm assuming, is refreshing. It just feels like they're going for broke with this and servicing the filmmaking vision first and the MCU second. This is a bold creative direction for a franchise whose visual style is largely stagnated, save for the aesthetics of Sam Raimi's Multiverse of Madness, Gunn's Guardians films, and at least the trailer for Ryan Coogler's Wakanda Forever. This is the shot in the arm the MCU needs. This is what gets people excited. Werewolf by Night clearly has a lot of style, and that extends to the little bit of score we've gotten as well, assuming that is the kind of music they're going to be using in the project, and the maestro behind the camera as well. Oh man, my boy Michael Giacchino is coming through clutch like he always does, not only as the composer of this project, but as the director of Werewolf by Night. He's clearly taking inspiration from the classic monster movies he grew up loving. It's very much like a kid playing in a sandbox of his own making. Giacchino just feels like he's fully embracing the genre, the feeling he got while watching those movies, and making a monster movie that just so happens to be an MCU film instead of an MCU movie that only wants the loose trappings of a genre film, which we've seen with well, basically 90% of the rest of the MCU's projects to date, but I digress. Giacchino's mastery of musical composition combines with a clear understanding of the power music has over a picture, how it can often be the driving force behind it. He's kept the plot in a way that Hollywood hasn't in regard to how, especially in classic films, in this case classic monster movies, music is a leading character and helped shape the identity of those movies. It makes him a perfect choice to direct a project like this, and you can hear it from the first droning notes in the trailer to those shrill stabs of strings as things kick off, which would be a cliche in just about any other composer's hands 60 plus years after Psycho, but which Giacchino manages to make his own and also add a new undercurrent of terror to. Granted, this is trailer music, some or even all of this stuff might be trailer only score, but regardless of how much of this specific material is or isn't in the special itself, I think this is a very strong indicator of what the man is going to bring us with his score. He has an innately musical understanding of filmmaking that adds to Werewolf by Night's distinct identity, and because it's such a low-risk, high-reward project, when he knocks it out of the park, it'll open up other doors for him. And Feige and company will surely have the confidence in him to pull off other bold projects with unique, distinct creative visions. Giacchino stated in interviews that he was a filmmaker first, went to film school, and then got caught up in film music and composition, and that became his career path instead. But even through his music, through the organizing of his film scores, he's always thinking narratively and emotionally. Working as a film composer is to emulate the emotional journey of the characters and story through music. It's a very specific way of examining story that can only come from the mind of a composer, someone whose sole job is to explore the emotions of the story. Without the technological elements of filmmaking, without writing, it's just such a primal way of tackling a narrative. And so if anything, I feel like Werewolf by Night is going to give us a unique take on this story for that reason alone. And not only that, being a composer, Michael Giacchino is very used to experimenting and trying new instruments or new combinations of instruments in order to get a specific sound that is tailor-made to the mood or character that he's going to pair it with. And while I'm sure we can expect him to take some chances and experiment with the score, this is also what makes him an interesting and captivating choice to create such a pulpy genre special. This whole special is a massive creative exercise, and he'll be able to take that playful experimentation that served him well in film composing and bring it into filmmaking, where he can try weird camera tricks, he can go crazy with the stylization, especially since this is just a one-off. It can get weird, especially if you're gonna bring in something like Man-Thing. If nothing else, with Werewolf by Night, the only thing that we can expect is the unexpected. And at the same time, being such a film lover, being someone who's grown up surrounded by genre, who's worked in genre for such a long time, Michael Giacchino is also going to bring a sense of reverence to the project that I don't know if we necessarily would have gotten with someone who was just hired to do the job instead of someone who is genuinely passionate about the subject matter and the genre which houses it. It also looks like Werewolf by Night will also have the brutality and violence of a pulpy grindhouse sort of film, harkening back to the era that birthed the comic version of the character, or, you know, something akin to Young Frankenstein, along with a welcome and refreshing blend of practical filmmaking, costumes, sets, bold makeup choices. Would I have preferred it if they went full tilt and allowed Giacchino to shoot on film? Of course! My god, that would have been a dream. But let's be real. Disney isn't interested in shelling out the big bucks so Michael Giacchino can go make an experimental Halloween TV special on film. Hell, they won't even really allow some of their bigger filmmakers to shoot on film. It's just simply not fast enough for the Marvel machine. But regardless, I also like the idea of them reviving the holiday TV special in general. It used to be such a special part of the holiday season, especially around Halloween and Christmas, and it allowed for networks and brands to do one-off stories on a smaller budget, engineered for television. I'm not saying this is innately better than, you know, a Werewolf by Night movie. Hell, I really would have loved if this was like a 90-minute theatrical film, or even, you know, a 90-minute TV special, but we're not gonna get that. I just think there's value in creating something for the holiday by way of a special, and it's gotten me excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. When done right, these things can become an integral part of holiday viewing and become something of a tradition. Imagine them doing Werewolf by Night or other creature feature-esque one-shots every year. No strings attached, just full unshackled creativity to play in the sandbox with these iconic characters. In a lot of ways, Werewolf by Night could be Marvel's answer to Todd Phillips' proposed DC Black idea he mentioned during the Joker press tour. A character genre-driven story that isn't beholden to a given cinematic universe. It's what the MCU needs. It's how they can become fresh instead of stagnating, and even if these are Disney Plus designed projects, so what? Maybe if they pivot to making more things like this, they won't get so much crap for the quality level of their streaming exclusives. Maybe Disney Plus can transition to being more of a place where audiences can come to watch filmmaker-driven MCU projects, and the cinema can remain the destination for feature-length entries that have larger ties to the universe.
Okay, I'm waiting for the punchline.
You know, as sad as that idea is, it's, you know, maybe it's just where the MCU is right now. I don't know. Again, I'm not naive. I know Jack Russell is bound to show up in future MCU projects along with Man-Thing, and we've also got some TVA agents in this trailer. Blade was apparently originally supposed to show up.
Sure you're ready for that?
Maybe they shouldn't have blown that reveal on something as middling as Eternals, right? So the special itself might have deeper ties to the MCU than Moon Knight, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I also think the special presentations format could allow Marvel to bring in bigger names to tell isolated genre stories. It would allow them to play in the sandbox, create their own distinct flavor of an MCU story, and then bow out. Again, the interconnectivity doesn't need to be a factor here and would allow for unique, stylized takes on beloved or niche characters. Maybe next year, someone like, say, I don't know, Darren Aronofsky comes in and tells his Werewolf by Night story, just like how the comics often have different writers and artists do each one-shot, and we'll get something even meatier and more violent. That's a complete spitball of an idea that will definitely never, ever in a million years happen, obviously, but the fact that Marvel could do that it could be this powerhouse of cinematic interconnectivity and a place where auteurs can tell stories would be the ultimate killer combo. The two things aren't mutually exclusive, and I'd like to see them embrace that. At the end of the day, regardless of how Werewolf by Night turns out, and let me just reiterate, I think it looks fucking incredible. The fact that they're going full tilt into genre, violence, weirdness, and cinematic style, and allowing someone like Michael Giacchino to come in and bring his unique vision to life in the way that he is something to be commended. There are a lot of reasons why I'm excited for Werewolf by Night, but more than anything, I'm just excited to see real filmmaking vision and craft find its way back into this universe. Let's just hope it's finally here to stay once and for all.